Rob, I keep saying it to you, big games coming thick and fast, and this is a huge one again this weekend. A European Champions Cup semi-final. Yeah. Sounds good.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? And I think the key is not getting too excited too quickly, because obviously there's a huge amount of emotional energy that's going to have to go into the game. Not so much in the coaches. I can maybe get as excited as I like, but the players certainly, they've got to keep things under wraps at the moment. Got to make sure all that emotive energy is there. Those emotional batteries are full for kick-off on Saturday, which doesn't mean we don't have to get through some hard work now. We do, but we have to get through some hard work on the detail, and that detail done at pace and done at tempo and done at match intensity that prepares us really well for Saturday. Now, we had a full training day yesterday. Every player turned up ready to train. Everyone took a full part in training, which is fantastic for us. We're going to have a similar day today. And that will allow our prep to be of as good a level as we could expect it to be. And we'll go into team run on Friday, just starting to talk about what we need to start bringing emotionally to the game, because it's going to have to crank up from them, and we're going to have to produce one of those amazing Exeter Chiefs emotional performances that can take us anywhere.
You spoke after Sunday with Northampton. You said that was probably a nice outcome in the end. You got the result you were expected to win, but it gave you some work-ons this week. And you'll probably see a different Chiefs going into this week. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, well, I think we ticked off a few boxes. So we dealt with a bit of emotional baggage, or mental baggage, which is, the players reading not just for a week, but reading probably for 4 or 5 weeks, as Northampton have come back out of lockdown, probably not on the form they went into lockdown on, with us obviously doing pretty well. That quarter-final against Northampton has been locked in there in the calendar for a long time, and working your way towards it over a couple of weeks. We probably didn't perform as well as we would have liked with a frontline group against Gloucester 9 days earlier, probably because this game was around the corner and it was in the front of our minds. And you see a Northampton team turn up who threw absolutely everything into it physically, and great credit to them. They broke up elements of our game. And we were probably a little bit edgy in a few areas of our game, and probably overthought things a little bit, especially around the line-out. We overthought things a lot there, and probably didn't get our prep right. And when I say our prep right, probably over-detail, not under-detail. A nine-day run into the game was probably not great for every player, because they probably overthought a lot of the processes, and we were a little bit clunky at times in that first half. But the one thing, when you review the game, that first half, we worked extremely hard in defence, extremely hard in our kick chase. And actually, Northampton had to work supremely hard to get their points. We repelled them from our 22 over and over again. And ultimately, that created over the 80 minutes a level of probably fatigue that we capitalised on later on with some very well taken tries that stretched us away. And in the end, makes it look like a comfortable scoreboard when it probably never really felt like that until the last stages of the game.
There is an age-old myth that French sides don't travel that well, but last four of Europe, you're expecting a force to come at you, aren't you, surely?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous now to talk about it being any other way. If you get to the last four in Europe, it's 4 good teams. And, whichever way things pan out now, you're going to be in tough games. So, I think it's what we're looking for. I think it's what we've been waiting for. I think we've been waiting for a challenge, so to speak. And that's no disrespect to anybody else, but the players came out of lockdown in fantastic physical condition. That's great credit to them. They were ready to go. They were ready to get playing again. They've been desperate to get on with games. They've thrown a lot of energy into what we've had to do so far, but they've thrown a lot of energy into those games, I think, with an anticipation there's something really special to play for. And so those games were really worth going hard at, because going hard at them could get us to where we wanted to be in the Premiership. We've achieved that. And going hard at them showed that you could be a good player, be a number one guy at the club, and get to play in a game like this Saturday. And so these are the games the players have been looking forward to, and what we've got to do now is make sure we harness that desire to be in this game, harness it in the right way to give us the best chance to put in the best level of performance.
Rob, you talked about the big match experience. You've had a lot of semi-finals, you've had a lot of final experience now. That's going to be crucial going into the weekend.
Of course it is. I mean, without doubt, guys gaining those experiences, gaining what it feels like to prep during the weeks up to the game, feeling what it feels like pre-game, the things that happen during a game, how the momentum of a game can shift, how you need to respond after the game. All of those things are experiences that you have to experience to really understand what they're about. The majority of this team have gone through those. They will be able to talk about it this week. They'll be able to talk about it before the game. They'll be able to talk about it during the game as momentum, like I say, changes. And those are the things that as a group we've worked very hard to keep together, and we're working very hard to try and experience as often as possible. We have got to expect that has some bearing on the game, because otherwise there'd be no point gaining experience ever, would there? So there's things that we are hopeful we will achieve. There are things we know we will achieve, and there are things that we've got to work very, very hard to achieve. And whichever team wins those numerous individual battles the most often will come out the winners at the weekend.
A glance at their team sheet will say it's a who's who of world rugby, but equally you look at ours now and it's a pretty impressive lineup.
I think it's difficult, isn't it? When you're involved with one side, you always look at the opposition and go, "Oh, look at that player! Look at that player! Look at that player!" But you turn around and you start working through our side and through our squad, and you see a lot of experienced Premiership players who've had success in the Premiership, and you see a lot of international players, not just international but British Lions as well, who've had multiple caps. So it's coming together on an experience range, on an age range. But what we've got to do is not expect anything to happen. We've got to make it happen. Sometimes it's just about who can go out there and make it happen, and we've got to be the team that turn up and make it happen.
What have you gleaned from watching Toulouse in the videos and even last week's game?
I think the important thing is not just to state the obvious, and there are some obvious threats there. People will have seen how well Dupont played, how well Disney Kobe played. They've got a midfield strike threat. That was pretty obvious. They've got a big pack of forwards that can really play a power game. It's kind of what you've got to expect. What you've got to do is, it's not what I'm prepared to talk on camera about that you see. It's the stuff that you see that you're not prepared to talk on camera about, in the areas where we think we can gain momentum, or where we think we can put them under genuine pressure. Yes, there are threats, and you have to deal with those threats, but you also have to find something in the game for yourself. We think there are things in the game for ourselves, and we'll look to exploit those. The
real shame is that this is a European Champions Cup semi-final, our first ever. Nobody's in the place, and disappointing news this week.
It's always disappointing when the crowds are, as I say, being pushed back. Listen, it's not for me to make an individual decision about it, or necessarily individual feeling. A government decision has been made. There'll be plenty of people who agree with it and plenty of people who don't agree with it. So that's happened. That's in place now. What we have to do is we have to focus on what we can control. We can control, how we turn up at the weekend. That's what we've got to get on with. And hopefully the powers that be will control other elements of what's going on, and get professional support, get professional rugby and professional sport well supported as soon as possible.
The home comforts you talked about last week, that's going to come into play, isn't it? It's going to be nice that you're going to be in your familiar surroundings this weekend.
Well, I mean, the whole point of working hard in the pool stages is so that you get the benefits of being at home later on. It's the same in the Premiership, same in Europe. So we've got to make the most of it. That's the whole point of having it. There's no point as not using it as much as we can to our advantage. So the whole point of being able to sleep in your own bed, know what time it's going to take you to travel to the ground, know how the changing rooms work, feeling comfortable in your surroundings, comfortable in maybe how the breeze works on the day and what the pitch feels like underfoot. You've got to use those to your advantage, and you've got to make sure that having so few distractions, which you should have when you play at home, allows you to have a really huge focus on what's going to be important, and that's going to be on individual and team performances.
Finally, team news. You've already mentioned that most of the squad, or virtually the squad from last week, are all fit and well. Cuthbert, Woodburn, Townsend, all on the mend. Lots of options. Yeah,
we're a thicker squad than we were, so no one's pulled up injured from the Northampton game, which is fantastic. As you say, we're a week down the line with other injured players, so we've got more guys training now, more guys in the mix. That's fantastic for us at this stage of the season. That will obviously allow us to keep progressing forward, whatever the outcome on Saturday, with a real positive outlook on the rest of the season. So, but for now, it's about locking down. It's about getting Saturday done.